Hello everyone, Ember Power here. I know it's been a while, but I'm back at it again with another deck profile. This time we are in the Battle Styles era, so I thought I'd take a look at a very good budget deck that I'm honestly surprised at about how good it was because really I didn't have any high hopes for this deck. I mean, the main attacker only has 130 HP, so nothing really too amazing here, I would say. But for a deck like this, I mean, it is pretty cheap as well, and there's only two Pokemon V in it. It is one of the very best budget decks that you can play right now. So without further ado, let's get into the list. This is basically a Cherrim Box kind of style deck. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Cherrim yet, it basically has this ability that lets you attach grass energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon that does not have a rule box. So rule box are Pokemon V, GX, EX Pokemon, Prism Stars, and so the ones that say like, oh, this Pokemon gives up two extra prizes, basically. You know, Mega Evolution would count as well. So yeah, that's Spring Bloom. It can also go to the active, which is nice. It's definitely one of the reasons why Cherrim's actually okay and not just complete garbage. But the main attacker for this deck is Tapu Bulu, and he has the attack Nature's Judgment, which is very familiar to those of you who were playing in the early Sun and Moon days, because there was a Tapu Bulu GX that had a very similar attack, and that was really good. So this Tapu Bulu does 80 damage, and then you may discard all grass energy, and if you do, it does 160. So you could honestly just view this as 3 energy, 160, because Tapu Bulu's very minute health means he's dying in one hit usually. So 160 for 3, it's not terrible, honestly. It's like, it could be better, but 160 is fine. It's certainly a 2 KO on awful lot of Pokemon, except Eternatus, but we'll get into that in just a second. Push down is also a very nice attack sometimes if you just whiff Nature's Judgment and you're just like, okay, push down, immediately emergency kind of situation thing. Sadly, you're not choosing who you bring up, but the opponent is forced to choose a new bench slot. So that was the Tapu Bulu. And then we have the secondary attacker is Golisopod. So Hard Time Slash, very powerful attack. For 2 colorless energy, it does 30 damage, and then 50 more for each of your opponent's Pokemon V and GX in play. So this is mainly here to deal with Eternatus. It's like a massive Eternatus counter. It's also here to deal with Pikarom and like Centiskorch in a way, because those decks, they'll get very trigger happy and they'll just like bench a bunch of Pokemon V and stuff. Like they only need to they only need to have 3 of them in play to do 180 damage for 2 energy. Like that's pretty good. So if you're not getting 1-8 KOs, not getting 1-8 KOs on Pikarom and stuff, you're getting 2-8 KOs at least. So it's a really nice appeal of Gliscod. Also, Gliscod used to be fairly predictable. Like if your opponent sees that you have a Wimpod, they'll just restrain themselves from benching so much. But because people don't expect Gliscod really to be appearing in a Tapu Bulu deck, and we only play 2 Wimpods, so the odds of us starting with Wimpod is actually fairly low. You know, it could easily be said that, you know, Gliscod's just a very nice tech card and does the deck a lot of favors. Last but not least is a card I would like to have maybe more copies of, and that is Zangoose. It has the Brutal Edge attack that does 20 damage, and then 10 more for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So it is essentially Outrage in reverse, which is a little fun attack to use. It's inspired by Azul GG. I saw that one of his lists was using this Zangoose, and I thought it was pretty interesting. So 20 plus 10 more, so what can happen is that you smack an Eternatus for 160, and it's like, okay, that sucks, because that's not a 2-hit KO. So then you just come in with this guy, and then all of a sudden, it is a 2-hit KO. So Zangoose is just nice. He's a nice little Hoover as well, and he only costs 2 energy, so we don't need to play many energy cards, and that's basically it for main attackers. We do play a 4-3 line of the main Charm. And then for the support Pokemon, we have 2 Kricketune V. This is essentially our draw support engine. I was reluctant to go with Oricorio because Oricorio in my decks recently, the opponent just bosses it up and then it dies, and then you're just sitting there going, okay, this is bad. Whereas Kricketune V, at least, it is a grass Pokemon, retreat cost of 1, 180 HP, so a little bit beefier than Oricorio, but Exciting Stage is a very easy ability to use as well in this deck. So once in your turn, you may draw cards until you have 3 in your hand. If this is in the active spot, you may draw until you have 4. So why this is pretty good is you can promote this guy, manually attach for turn, use Exciting Stage, then manually retreat, and then still use Cherrim to power up a bench Tapu Bulu or something. That's why it's a pretty good card. I do play 2 of them in case one is prized. You could maybe get away with 1, but I would definitely try and go for 2. It also takes up less room than Jirachi, and Jirachi means we have to play Scoop Up Net, and I really didn't want to find room for that, especially considering this deck, when I was originally building it, I just wanted maximum consistency. I didn't really care about Jirachis, so that's why there's an awful lot of Pokeball stuff in here, and also why it's pretty cheap. It's a pretty cheap deck. So 1 Mew should come as no surprise. We live in the age of Urshifu, which means they can basically just board wipe you within 2 turns if you don't find Mew. So Urshifu is an auto loss. If you don't like playing Mew or you don't have one, then don't worry about it. Just remove the Mew. Add in maybe a second energy retrieval or something to make the deck a bit more consistent in that department, but you don't really have to focus too much on Mew. Side Power is a nice cleanup move as well. I forgot to mention that. So that does it for the Pokemon. So 18 Pokemon, quite a lot, but pretty cheap. We play 1 Energy Recycler to shuffle 5 basic energy cards. Won't need this until the late game, so we don't need to play more than 1. If it gets prized, that's even better as well. We play 1 energy retrieval to put 2 basic grass energies straight back into the hand. You can play more of these if you want, but I felt they were clogging up my hand when I didn't need them. And because the deck is very turbo with the Exciting Stage focus, then I didn't really want to focus on that. So to Escape Rope, a problem I had when building this deck is because I'm not using Jirachi or Pokegear, I am essentially not really playing a consistent way of finding bosses' orders. So Escape Rope seemed like a more logical solution. So I'm just playing Escape Rope. You can switch them out for boss if you really want to, but I think Rope is okay for now. 3 Evolution Incense. This can find Gliscod and Cherrim, so pretty gosh darn good. Great Ball, we play 18 Pokemon, so we should be able to hit things consistently. 3 Level Ball. This can find us our Wimpod, our Cherubi, and our Cherrim, and our Mew. It cannot find Kricketon, Pod, Bulu, or Zangoose, because Zangoose sadly has 10 HP too much. No, I thought I'd say 100 HP is too much, but here we are. And then we play 4 Quick Ball for sort of just being able to find any basic that we need. So the range in HP means we can run a count of these. I would suggest always play 4 Quick Ball just to be safe, but these counts you can really just mess around with. 2 Ordinary Rods, because we just want to be able to recycle some of our attackers late game. Maybe we've lost our Gliscods and we really need them back, so they can come in really handy. We then play, I can't see because of the bar that down there, but I think that should be just 2 switches, and then 3 or 4 Bruno, and 3 or 4 Marnie, and then 4 Research. So Bruno's in here. I do prefer Bruno to Marnie at this point because they are more than likely getting a 1-hit KO every single turn, so just being able to get the full value of Bruno is great. Also, Shuffle Draw 4 is not actually that bad as well because we of course play the Exciting Stage, so it's really easy to thin down our hand in that sense. And because we can accelerate all the grass energy we draw into, hopefully, then it becomes a really easy deck to play. And yeah, that's about it really. The original list for this was in the works before Battle Styles was even released, and then it took a while to get going, and I've had it's been pretty naff the last few months, I'm not gonna lie. But hopefully more content can resume as usual, and I'll try and keep you guys updated, and thank you for watching.